If you step away from the product, they're not going to make any money. That is a former Meta engineering director under oath, describing exactly what his own company was building. Not a leaked memo, not a whistleblower guessing. A man who sat inside the room telling a jury the plan out loud. This week, Meta agreed to pay up to $17.1 billion to end the trial he was testifying in. Every headline is calling it historic. I'm going to show you why that number is doing a lot of work to hide something much smaller, and why the real story is not Meta. It's every platform that your kids are on. This did not start this week. It started with 3 separate threads that all led to the same courtroom. Thread 1, the whistleblowers. 2021, internal Meta documents leaked to the Wall Street Journal. They showed the company's own researchers knew Instagram was making teenage girls feel worse about their bodies. And they knew it before the public did. That's the seed. Everything else since then has grown out of that leak. Thread 2, the school district revolt. Around 1,200 school districts across the country have now filed suit, arguing they are the ones paying the bill for this. Counsellors, crisis response, lost classroom time, all funded out of local budgets, while the platforms causing the damage keep the ad revenue. One of the earliest test cases, a small Kentucky district called Breathitt County, settled back in May for $27 million combined from Meta, Snap, TikTok, and YouTube. That number sounds decent until you learn it was 8% more than that entire district's annual budget. For the district, it's transformative money. For the 4 of the largest companies in the world, it barely registers. Thread 3, the cover-up. During discovery, state investigators found that Meta's own lawyers had instructed staff to delete portions of internal documents, specifically parts showing the company understood teenagers were developmentally vulnerable. That's not an accident of corporate bureaucracy. That is a legal team building a defense in advance for harm they already knew that was happening. Put those 3 threads together and you get this week's settlement. Here is where I need to correct almost every headline you have seen, including some of the ones I nearly used. The 17.1 billion figure is not a check Meta's writing today, which I thought it was. Meta has guaranteed $12.2 billion over 10 years. It only reaches the full 17.1 billion if Snapchat, TikTok, and YouTube agree to adopt similar strict safety terms, and roughly $459 million of that headline number is actually tied to a separate, older Cambridge Analytica claim, not the child safety case at all. So the honest version is this: up to 17.1 billion with 12.2 billion guaranteed, spread across a decade. Now, put that next to Meta's 2025 revenue, $201 billion in 1 year. The guaranteed portion of this settlement spread over 10 years is worth roughly 0.6% of a year's single revenue. And here's the part that should actually make you angry. In their own court filings, Meta acknowledged that if this case had gone to trial and they'd lost badly, the exposure could have reached $1.4 trillion. So they were staring down at an existential number and settled for what amounts to a rounding error by comparison. Zero admissions of wrongdoing was required. No individual faced consequences. The core business model, the one built on maximizing how long a teenager stares at a feed, remains completely intact for now. This is not a punishment. It is a subscription fee for continuing to operate exactly as before. If you think this is a meta problem, you're missing the bigger story. Earlier this month, a federal appeals court ruled on something that matters more long-term than this settlement. Meta, Google, TikTok, and Snapchat had all argued that Section 230, the law that normally shields platforms from lawsuits over what users post, should also shield them from being sued over how they designed their apps. The Ninth Circuit disagreed, ruling that Section 230 is a defense you can raise during a trial, not a free pass to avoid a trial altogether. That decision is why more than 3,000 separate lawsuits against these companies are now able to move forwards. That's the real headline that most people missed. The shield did not disappear, but it got a lot weaker for every platform, not just Meta. The evidence also keeps stacking up across all of them. Back in March, an Los Angeles jury found Meta and YouTube jointly liable for negligent design, awarding $6 million to a young woman who said the platforms fueled her addiction and depression. A coalition of 14 state attorneys generals led by New York and California has been suing TikTok specifically since October 2024, alleging the same pattern of addictive design aimed at minors. And that Breathitt County case I mentioned was just the first of well over 1,000 similar school district lawsuits still working their ways through the court, with the next major bellwether trial scheduled for February 2027. This is not just one company having a bad year. This is an entire industry that's built its growth on the same design playbook. And the bill is only just starting to arrive. So, here is where I land on this. $17 billion sounds like justice. It's not. It's the cost of doing business, priced by a company that had already calculated the $1 trillion downside and decided a fraction of 1% of annual revenue was a bargain to avoid it. The design did not change today. The incentive did not change today. What changed is that the legal shield these companies relied on for 2 decades just got noticeably thinner. And that is going to keep happening case by case, district by district, state by state. And if you have a kid on any of these platforms, the settlement is not the protection. You are. Imagine actually trusting what you read again, because everything online is AI generated, copy pasted, and built to sell you something. And here is what nobody tells you. The people making it have never done it themselves. That is what this channel is about. AI surveillance, big tech, what it means for your privacy, your job, and your future. Plus, staying sharp in body and mind while it all changes. And I'll be honest, I've been feeling it too. That is exactly why I worked with Stephen J. Manning to create Monday Influencer. Monday Influencer is real education from real experts, expert audio, a weekly digest, and a mentor bot, so you can trust what you learn again. Want more? Get the real story. Subscribe to Monday Influencer today. The link is in the description.